Isn't it amazing when other people recognize positive changes you've made? Well, sometimes when we're talking to other people, we inadvertently imply that we haven't seen them change at all. And this can have a really negative effect on them. So in this video, I want to talk about 3 phrases that I hear that can have this effect on other people and how you can phrase them differently in order to show that you're open to the fact that they may have changed since you've known them. Let's get into it. Now, the first phrase, which is very common, but not very detrimental, is "you don't like that." This I've found is most common in terms of like food or taste. So someone might say, "Oh, you don't like mushrooms." And maybe you didn't like mushrooms when you were a kid, but maybe now you do. And while it's not that big of a deal to just say like, "Oh, you don't like this kind of food," or "you don't like this thing," it still implies that person like, "Oh, you're the same person you were 10 years ago," when they probably aren't. So that one's like a very common one, not that impactful, but still important to be aware of. And basically, instead of saying, "Oh, you don't like that," you could pose it as a question and say, "Is that still something you don't like?" Because that way you're showing, okay, I know you really well, and I thought you didn't like that thing, or I remember you don't like that thing. Do you still not like it now? Because that shows that you pay attention and you care, but you're still giving them the option to show that they have changed. Okay, so now the second one is definitely more negatively impactful. It's also a lot less commonly heard, so which is good because it is so much more detrimental to that person. And that is, "You're not good at that." You can probably remember a time when someone has told you that phrase and it feels horrible. I mean, no one wants to be told they're not good at something. And I think this is very common with some people that you've known a very long time, specifically with parents, where maybe, as a kid you struggled with reading and your parent knows that or your siblings know that, and you had to work really hard, and maybe now you're actually a pretty good reader, but maybe they didn't quite see that growth that you had. And so, they might say things like, "Oh, you're not a good reader," and they don't realize how much of an effect that can have on you. If this is something that you hear by, people that are close to you, your family, friends, whatever it is, one suggestion I have is to just suggest to them, "Hey, it really hurts me when you say it like that. Could you instead ask me, 'Hey, I know you used to struggle with that. How are you doing with it now?'" I think the main reason people will say, "You don't like that, or you're not good at that," is because they're trying to show that they know you. They've known you for so long. They just want to show that they pay attention and they know you very well, but they're saying it in a way that hurts you. And by saying instead, "I remember you used to struggle with that. How are you doing with it now?" They're showing that, "Hey, I do remember this. I know you very well, but I just want to know, has it gotten better? Like, how are you doing?" in a very non-judgmental way. Okay, so this last one is probably the worst one someone can say to you. And I think most of the time it doesn't come from a bad place. I think a lot of times it comes from a place of insecurity of that person saying it to you. And that is, "You can't do that." Like I said, I don't think people say this to be like, to actually say, "I actually don't believe in you." I think it's more so it's not something they would ever do, and they're projecting that insecurity onto you. And so the main thing with this is, if you have someone saying this to you, is just to try to empathize with them and understand, okay, this might be coming from a place of insecurity from them, but also being honest with them and saying, "Hey, it's not okay for you to tell me what I can and can't do." Instead, if you want to say, "Hey, that seems challenging. Do you feel ready?" Because then they can express their concern of, "Oh, that seems like it might be a really tough thing to do. Are you ready? Are you prepared? Do you feel like it's something you're capable of?" And they're opening the conversation and showing that, they want you to know that they feel it's maybe a little risky or dangerous, but they're open to you explaining why you think it's something you can do. So those are just a few phrases that I've seen here and there come up in conversation. And when I've talked to people about hearing these phrases from others, it can hurt them a lot. And so hopefully these aren't things that you say. If they are, most of the time I think it's by accident. So just be more aware of it. And if other people are saying these things to you, don't be afraid to set boundaries. It's okay to tell people what's okay to say around you and what's not. because otherwise it's going to put a long-term strain on your relationship, which is much worse than just dealing with that uncomfortable moment at the moment and saying, hey, I'm not okay with how you said it. Can you please say it this way next time? All right, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please tap that like button and I'll see you next time.